Welcome to my presentation on engaging students based on 9 things educators need to know about the brain by Louis Cozolino. My agenda for this presentation is to review the 9 items mentioned by Louis Cozolino and discuss several ways to address that in a class setting in an engaging way. The first thing that he mentions is that the brain is a social organ. I've picked a quote that I like from the article. From a neurobiological perspective, the position of the teacher is very similar to that of the parent in building the child's brain. Optimism, encouragement, and giving someone the benefit of the doubt have been shown to positively impact performance. And so does a caring and positive regard for students. Promoting social emotional learning programs that decrease student conflict and create positive social climates in the classroom are invaluable to learning. Here are a few examples of how that would work in a class. Please keep in mind that I'm going to focus on a primary classroom since that's my area of expertise. Number 1 is create a welcoming classroom that celebrates kindness and sharing. I've seen teachers do this by creating a kindness board where students add the names and action of a few fellow students who were doing something kind. I've also seen teachers recognize students daily who have spoken a kind word or done a kind act toward a classmate. The second is teach social emotional learning skills like how to calm down when you're angry or taking a whole class calm down break after a busy activity. Modeling, for example, some calm breathing techniques is a good example of this. Another is listening to calm music while drawing. And the third idea I came up with, is reading books that model kindness and helpful behavior to help students understand those important skills. Some books that I've enjoyed in my classroom are this one. This is called Heartwood Hotel. It's written by Callie George, and it demonstrates how having a helpful and kind attitude can help build friendships and a positive environment. And then shorter books. This one is called Seasons for Stones. It was written by my friend Nikki Bergstresser. It discusses the importance of caring for others. I think those would help a lot in building the brain as a social organ. The second thing mentioned by Cozolino is that we have 2 brains. What he's referring to here is that we have a right brain that is focused on creativity, perception, and emotions. And then we have a left brain that's focused more on language, linear thinking, and memory. We need to be aware of these 2 hemispheres of our brain and that they need to work together for us to have higher functioning skills. So we need activities that engage both sides of our brain. Louis suggested storytelling, which can allow students to be both linear and creative in their assignment. I'd also like to add another idea is reader's theater, which allows students to use their left brain while reading and their right brain as they act out and are creative in their role. Number 3, early learning is powerful. Costolino says, and I quote, "Early experiences shape structures in ways that have a lifelong impact on 3 of our most vital areas of learning: attachment, emotional regulation, and self-esteem. These 3 spheres of learning establish our abilities to connect with others, cope with stress, and feel that we have value." This means that teachers need to help students understand and think about their emotional experiences. First, keeping a journal to record feelings and emotions can be helpful. This can be as simple as spending 10 minutes free writing every day. Students can draw pictures of their feelings even when they might be ugly. Teachers can give examples of this themselves or even provide books like this one by Elise Grabel. In some classes, role-playing positive and negative reactions to situations could be very helpful. For example, if there is a problem on the playground that's reoccurring, a teacher could have students act that problem out and think of different ways that would be a good response, a positive response, and a negative response. And then the class can talk about what would be best for everyone to do. This way, students have a chance to think through their actions and plan their actions in advance. Number 4, our conscious and unconscious processing happen at different speeds, often at the same time. Louis Cozolino explains that what we're aware of doing and what we're actually doing are separate things. For example, right now I'm aware that I am creating this presentation and using my voice to speak. However, what I'm not aware of is that my brain is processing the sentences as I speak them. I'm breathing, my blood is pumping. These are all things that are happening without my conscious thought involved. Many of our thoughts and impressions are unconscious. For students, this can translate into having unconscious biases. To address this as teachers, we should show representations in books and posters of non-conforming people in different roles. For example, we could show scientists who are women or scientists of color. We can also look for diverse role models for our students, even visitors to the classroom. For example, it's been positive in the past when I've had EAs who are of a different color, or even just male EAs have been an amazing experience for my students. As teachers, we also need to be mindful of our own biases. First of all, thinking through our lesson and unit plans. Are they representing different people and cultures? Are they enforcing any stereotypes? If they are reinforcing stereotypes, how can we limit that? How can we get rid of that in our lessons? Examining our books and educational material for biases. Who's represented in the books that we're reading? Do we have multiple representations of different races and cultures? Are we assessing students accurately? For example, if we know the student, are we being more harsh? Would it be better to have a blind assessment and keep the names secret until the assessment is done so that we aren't using biases in our assessment? These are all good things to think about as we're teaching. Number 5, the mind, the brain, and the body are interwoven. Our health is all connected. In order to learn properly, we need to make healthy choices with our food and get enough sleep. We also need exercise to stimulate our brains. We can teach children the importance of eating healthy foods and building healthy habits. One of the things I've done with my grade 2 class in the past is a unit on healthy behavior. We studied food and how different food makes us feel, including creating collages of good food to eat. We learned how damaging sugar can be and did a few experiments on the effects of sugar in our brains. Some other ideas would be to get student nurses in from a local university to talk about eating healthy and taking care of our teeth. Another thing I did with my class was we got parents involved by talking about bedtimes and the importance of getting enough sleep at night. Number 6, the brain has a short attention span and learns by making connections. Learning is complex. Cozolino says, learning also involves the strengthening of connections between neurons. What fires together wires together, says neuroscientists, which is why repetition supports learning, while the absence of repetition and exposure results in its decay. Teachers would do well to make sure they repeat important points in their lessons to deepen learning. According to Zaretta Hammond in her book Culturally Responsive Teaching and the Brain, Promoting Authentic Engagement and Rigor Among Culturally and Linguistically Diverse Students, she mentions that when learning new material, students need a brain break every 15 to 20 minutes after learning new information so that their brains can reflect on the new material and file it properly from short-term to more lasting memory. Brain breaks can be drawing a picture, reflecting on a question, or even listening to calm music. She adds that in order to strengthen these pathways of learning, teachers need to have their students interact with their new learning. After a brain break, students need to interact with the new material in order to strengthen those pathways, like I just mentioned. This includes things like creating a song or a rap about new learning, discussing different perspectives or relationships based on the new material, or creating a poster or a presentation about the topic. Number 7, fear and stress impair learning. We need to create calm schools and classes. When we're fearful or stressed out, we're not going to be able to learn well. In a previous presentation, I've mentioned many ways to create a calm, welcoming school and class. Here are some of the highlights of that presentation. Teachers need to be trained in social emotional learning skills. Administration needs to be supportive and provide help for teachers and students. There need to be places in the school to calm down, such as a calm down den. Classrooms need to be lit with gentle lighting and have soft places to sit. Teachers can allow rest breaks during instructional time. There need to be books and learning activities that help students learn about stress and how to address it. Number 8, we need to examine ourselves through the lens of others. This means we need to think about others to build self-awareness. Cozolino says, if we practice putting ourselves in the position of others, like historical figures and book characters, we often start thinking about ourselves in a different way. According to Cozolino, simple exercises that guide students to examine what and how they think and feel about others may be true for themselves can open a window of self-awareness, empathy, and insight. Number 1, a class could do projects that allow students to interact with the content. For example, in grade 5, students learn about Canadian government. Instead of simply studying some written documents, students could participate in a class election and then reflect on how they felt as they went through the process of campaigning, speaking, voting, and anticipating winning or losing. Number 2, could read about the experiences of others. Many students I work with have had the chance to read stories about Aboriginal children forced to attend residential schools. Learning about these students from the past can allow students to imagine themselves in that situation. Having them answer questions like, how would you feel if, or what would you do in that situation, helps students build self-awareness. A couple of books I found that work with this is, first of all, Not My Girl. It's about Margaret, a girl who was sent to a residential school for 2 years. Upon her return, she had forgotten a big part of her language and culture and had to work hard to get her knowledge back. The second is called The Color Monster, and it's about a monster who wakes up with too many emotions. A girl shows him what each emotion means, and once he understands, he starts calming down. This is a great book for primary students because it helps them identify and manage their own emotions. The final point, number 9, enhance the big picture. We need to keep focusing on the big idea. In our BC curriculum, we're given big ideas for each section that we teach. For example, this is the section of Social Studies Grade 5, and you can see that there are 4 big ideas here. Causalino suggests that it helps children learn when the big idea is focused on from the beginning of a unit to the end and is made the center focus for each lesson so students know what their end goal is. Thanks for listening. I hope I've provided some good ideas for teaching and for social emotional learning.